I'm Debra Lee Baldwin, and I'm visiting Julian Duval, retired CEO of the San Diego Botanic Garden, dating back to when it was quail.
Right.
Julian, this is a real treat. You have a whole botanic garden of your own here.
You know, I'm really enjoying my retirement because it's allowed me to get into the thing that I wanted to do most anyway, is get my hands in the soil, you know.
Yeah.
Julian will take us on a tour of his 2/3 acre garden, which is full of rare and unusual plants in the ground and in pots, and in an 18 by 24 greenhouse he calls a walk-in terrarium. You'll see a wide variety of uncommon succulents prized by collectors, including decades-old Uncarina, Brachychiton, and Cyphostemma trees, and welwitschias, epiphytes, oddball tropicals, caudiciforms, and pachyforms that have earned blue ribbons at cactus and succulent shows. Best of all, you'll be entertained by and learn from one of San Diego's most endearing and knowledgeable plant experts.
Pleasure to have you here, Deborah.
Oh, these water lilies are the most beautiful.
They are a pretty color, aren't they? When the water lilies are dormant in the wintertime, you can see the fish a lot better, but right now the fish are pretty well disguised by all the surface plant cover.
How did you get to be so intrigued by the natural world?
I grew up in the Chicagoland area.
Yeah.
I just wanted to have my head amongst the bugs and the stuff that was in the yard all the time. My brother was very into sports, but I never was. I just kept on getting bigger and bigger things, and my mother would eventually allow me to have snakes in the house, but then the snakes would get loose, and so...
You have a degree in horticulture? Or?
I have a degree in wildlife management. I worked in zoos prior to coming here. Realized how blessed I was to be able to have that kind of focus for my life. I mean, a lot of my school chums and whatnot, they never knew what they wanted to do with their life. I always knew what I wanted to do. There's 2 zoos in the Chicago area. There's an incredible aquarium, the Shed Aquarium, the Field Museum of Natural History. I knew there were jobs. I knew these people that worked in those places were like the people that I wanted to become. And eventually I kind of did. So. Why Leslie and I ended up here, we had the benefit of living at the San Diego Botanic Garden during the times that I worked there. And that went on for 24 years, and that was great for a lot of reasons. We were able to afford to live in Southern California, having moved from Indianapolis. But knowing that, or anticipating that I would live beyond my employment, Leslie, my wife, set about finding us a place to move to. And she found this place, and then called me up, and I was at work, and she said, "Oh, you need to come out and see this right away." And I said, "Well, I'm busy." And she said, No, this is because we like rocks. And she said, this place has large boulders on the property. And I came out here and looked at it, walked around the outside. I don't think I went inside the house. I said, do it. The house is pretty small. It was built to fit in these big rocks that exist here. Way back in 2012, I started coming out here on the weekends and started taking out eucalyptus and doing things that I wanted to plant.
What is your climate like?
Pretty ideal. Vista does have a lot of slope, cold air drainage, a lot of frost-free, and it gets a little warmer than closer to the coast, like Encinitas, for instance, which some of the plants appreciate.
Well, the operative word is frost-free.
Boulders modify the microenvironment too. You know, the boulder is going to provide a little bit of coolness in the summer, but also a little bit of warmth in the winter. So you get a milder climate next to these big rocks too.
Anyway. You can never have too many boulders.
You're right. There was a wonderful fellow that helped us out at the San Diego Botanic Garden by the name of Bill Teague. Did you know him?
I knew Bill.
He was an artist in garden design. And one of his rules was, there's your budget now, take half of that money and buy rocks. It's nice to have plants that have a lot of provenance, you know, ones that have sentimental value. Chuck Aids, who was our first honoree for our annual galas at the San Diego Botanic Garden, he gave little 1-gallon dragon trees to everybody as gifts. And that's where these came from. My interest in plants is pretty varied, I guess. It kind of ranges far and wide. I fell in love with these guys. They were aloes. They're Allodendron ramosissimums. If you live in Southern California and you're not growing aloes, you're kind of like missing out. I mean, there's no other place in the country that you can grow them as well. This big Brachychiton, this was a gift from Jim Farley. one of the people that played a very important role over the years at the San Diego Botanic Garden, board member, and kind of mentor to me in many respects. I've always been fascinated by these Pachycaul trees, these big, thick trunk trees. It's incredible living sculptures. So it's been in the ground. In fact, I started planting things about 21, 22 years ago. So, and I'm happy I did that. This is fairly new, actually. We only got this done, which is kind of strange. This is the front of the house, obviously. This is the part that shows from the street. But I guess I've never been that concerned about what the garden looked like to anybody other than us. This was like a renegade nursery here in front for a long time. Black plastic pots, a black plastic ground cover. There's a difference between a plant collection and a garden, obviously. And you try to, if you start with a plant collection, you try to turn that into a garden. You often don't really get a good garden ultimately, but you know, dumb luck or whatever, sometimes it works out. You know, like if you put plants where they like to be, they tend to turn into something that looks good. Moreton Bay fig, Ficus macrophylla. This is the same species of tree that's out in front of the Natural History Museum in Balboa Park. You know, one of the notable ones outside of Australia, where they come from, I'm sure. Ficus are so adaptable. Like this one, on the ground, it'd be a huge tree that would cover this whole front area and destroy the foundation of the house. Beaucarnea recurvata is the so-called ponytail palm. It's like one of the gateway plants for me. Yeah, my first ponytail palm was probably when I was in high school. For me, in terms of getting involved with plants that have fat bottoms to them, caudex plants, Pachycaul plants have thick trunks and that, which I find very interesting and very sculptural, one of the things I appreciate. So that's an Uncarina grandidiaria from Madagascar.
So we're about to go into the backyard. He's got everything you can imagine. It reminds me a little bit more of the San Diego Zoo in terms of the pathways, the tropicals, the things to explore. But it's definitely got that sense of the Botanic Garden too. I
like the herpetofauna, the reptiles. I haven't seen any snakes in the garden, and that bothers me. About 3 years ago I saw a nice big gopher snake, but I haven't seen any snakes since, and I'm saddened by that. I like snakes. I like all the wildlife, and so the idea of being able to attract as much wildlife to the property as possible is a goal. I love lizards. Yeah. Very common western fence lizard. We have 2 cats, a small dog, stay inside. This is Mabel, a 3-toed box turtle. All right, if you go to Petco and buy yourself some mealworms or crickets, you'll find that your native lizards will come and eat from your hands after about a very short training period. I have about 2/3 of an acre, shaped like a slice of a pie. It's very narrow up at the front of the street, but it's widest down below. It has the slope that I wanted, the cold air drainage. We never get a frost here.
What a great view.
And everything you're looking at, I started to plant a little over 20 years ago when we first got the property. We've lived here now for 5.5 years since I retired. But I like a lot of tropical plants, and I keep it kind of located in one spot, trying to be conservative of the water that we use here, but all plants do require some, and these plants require a little more. I love epiphytes.
About 20 years ago or more, you were giving me a tour of the Botanic Garden for some article I was working on. Yeah. And I remember learning about epiphytes from you back then.
That ficus you see growing in the crotch there, that's something I planted there when it was a lot smaller. A gift from Don Walker, founder of the San Diego Horticultural Society.
How does it get any soil there?
Ficus have this incredible capacity to grow roots and crevices. They expand and even contract. And it's going to have a hard time destroying those rocks before it ever gets to mess with the house here. This is Ficus petiolaris. It's a pretty ficus. It has nice red veins. It's got the bougainvillea growing through it too, of course, but it wants to be a big tree, and it's always going to require pruning. I've seen them in Mexico, and they get huge.
Tell me about this donut tree.
These are figs, Ficus auriculata. This particular cultivar of this species is not edible. These things never really ripen. They turn into these really hard, as you can kind of see. It might be starvation food if you're really hard up. They fall off and they smash everything else that you planted around the bottom of it.
Do you have any regrets that you planted this thing?
No, I love it. I'm not any expert at this, but I consider myself a practitioner of forest ecology. Nobody rakes the leaves in the forest. But I like the fact that they are contributing to the nutrients. So-called traveler's palm looks like a giant bird of paradise. That's Ravinia madagascariensis. Another plant comes from Madagascar. And it's been mutilated by gophers in the past. It's in a gopher cage right now, but I think the gopher is maybe inside the cage with it, having a good time.
Now, why do you have a cage over this water garden?
Raccoons.
Raccoons.
In the course of them catching the fish, it looked like this went through a Cuisinart. I mean, it just wrecked all the plants just terribly. I do have a few flowers in the garden.
This is amazing. All these hidden areas.
Yeah,
Wow.
So some people say I have too many plants.
You think?
Palomar Cactus and Succulent Society's Spring Festival, I brought home a couple of plants. So they're here someplace.
Wow. Oh my goodness, look at all this.
Yeah, this is where it turns into more like a nursery than a garden. A lot of plants and pots on benches and a greenhouse.
Each plant has its own story, and you must have 1,000 or more.
Yeah, I think I do have over 1,000 plants and almost that many different taxa. There's a lot of wonderful succulent plants that come from around the world that can deal with our low temperatures here, but they really want to be drier in the wintertime, not have wet feet at the same time they're cooler. And so they grow in the summertime, they need their water in the summertime, and that's the purpose of this structure here is largely to keep the rain off of many of the plants that are under it that really want to be dry when it's cooler. Adeniums, for instance, these so-called desert roses. This is a plant I've had since the 80s. This is one of the many plants that I brought with me from Indianapolis. In fact, it was in my greenhouse there.
You must have had quite a truck.
I did. I had a 48-foot semi. It was quite a truck. But yeah, I love these caudex plants. This is also an adenium. That's Adenium arabicum, and they're a little more capable of handling the cool and wet. Look at this little treasure. I like this. It looks like a miniature baobab from Madagascar. Operculicarya pachypus. Now, Huntington does a wonderful thing called the ISI, International Succulent Plant Introductions. I got this plant from that, let's see, back in '05. Come in here and I have a big walk-in terrarium. The fan's going to go on now, so it's going to get a little noisier, but the original sign for the then Quail Botanical Gardens, that was out on Quail Gardens Drive when it first opened in 1970.
Julian, I'm seeing so many plants I've never seen before.
There's a lot of oddballs in here, actually. This is one of the so-called ant plants from either northern Australia into New Guinea.
This is too. Look at the holes in it.
I like bringing these to Cactus and Succulent Society meetings and shows. This is clearly a succulent plant, but from very wet tropical environments, they grow as epiphytes.
They have a symbiotic relationship
with ants. Right. Base of this is honeycomb with chambers where specific species of ants native to the habitat where these come from. The plant provides them with lodging. They defend the plant from other insects that might want to chew or eat the plant.
Clearly you don't have any ants. Are they okay with that?
The plant doesn't require it all. Anyway, there's all kinds of plants that don't want to be outdoors at all. Some of the plants are actually in here in transition to get them ready to be outdoors. But then there's a lot of plants that will never survive our winters.
Well, you've got this here, also growing out of a bird feeder.
A moss pole. It looks like a bird feeder. Now, it's one of the Gistidias. It's a type of Asclepiad. This is Hoya imbricata, in reference to the fact that this is the way it likes to grow. Its leaves are plastered on a tree trunk.
A cactus. Oh, and we're missing the bloom.
It's going to open at night. This is the second time this one's bloomed for me. This long flower tube here, probably because there's a very long-tongued moth that would pollinate this at night. A little fertilizer holder. I put a Nutricoat inside. I don't use fertilizer in my watering here in the greenhouse because I have some lizards that live in here. Madagascar day geckos. There's also a rescue gargoyle gecko that's native to New Caledonia of all places. He's nocturnal.
So you come down here sometimes at night.
Exactly. It's a whole other stage of what's going on in nature at night. Are you familiar with welwitschias?
Yeah.
I've got a couple over here. This is a male producing its cone right now, and this is a female.
Okay.
And so I do move pollen back and forth, and I do get seed from them. If I'm lucky, I'll be able to do that again. It won't be until this fall that those mature. These are plants that are grown by people who enjoy cactus and succulents, but require quite a bit of water. They like really well-drained soil, but they want to be watered on a regular basis.
Well, in habitat, these leaves, and they only have two.
Yeah, only
but they'll get to be.
They just develop and wear off at the ends over a long period of time. Some of these plants are estimated to be potentially over 1,000 years old in habitat.
Oh, wow.
A group of plants that are cone-bearing that are mostly extinct. There's only one species in the entire family. As a kid, I remember seeing in the Museum of Natural History a diorama of welwitschias. Beautifully done. They're artificial, of course. And I remember looking at that plant and thinking, wow, that is really a wild plant. Now I'm growing it.
Yes, look at
This
those
is one
leaves.
of the Cyphostemmas. It's Cyphostemma bitiformis. It's one of the ones that's harder to grow. I bought this a number of years ago at a sale too. I hope it's not a collected plant.
Well, no wonder you take ribbons from the shows at the Cactus and Succulent Society.
Well, one of the tricks of being able to do that is just having plants for a long period of time. Larger than the little 2-inch one you can buy.
Is there anything that you're lusting after that if you saw it at a show or in a nursery, you'd pounce?
There's a bullate form of Dorstenia gigas that would be fun to have, I think. At this point in time, I've got so many plants here of what I already have, a full-time job. Staghorn ferns, I've got a collection of staghorn ferns, another thing that grows really well here in Southern California. Most people don't realize that a really big old one, of the typical ones that get huge, they have the capacity to hold so much moisture that you really don't even have to water them much in the summertime. And of course in the wintertime it rains, and so you don't need to water them at all. So,
Philoppismium?
yeah, I learned how to grow these only recently. They don't really like a lot of full sun.
It's the balancing act, Julian.
Right.
They don't redden without it. So
Right.
you practically have to have them right on the ocean, sheltered somewhat. There's one in my first book that is magenta.
Yeah.
And everybody's been asking me ever since, you know, where do you...
How can I get one of those?
Yeah,
huh?
how are you going to get one of those?
And you can get one, but you just have to grow it in the right spot.
This keeps going.
Yeah, we're at the widest part of the garden. So many plants, so little time, right? So I like cycads. I'm not crazy about them as some people are. The ones that I've actually, with the help of others who brought me pollen, actually, these are ones that I grew from seed.
Oh.
This is more the Xeric area of the garden, certainly, and this is the area that I don't water as much. Soils here aren't the ideal. They could be better drained. It's a sort of a mixture, probably classified as an adobe DG combination.
This is a aloes pseudo-rubroviolacea. Nice plant, too. Not all about the flowers.
Yeah, it's a plant that fell over, but I've since learned they tend to want to grow on cliff faces. Look at the little bunny sitting over there.
Oh, just a little bunny.
I don't mind those compared to gophers.
No, I'll take a rabbit any day.
Or squirrels.
Squirrels!
Ah! This tree here has some significance. This is the species of tree that Leslie and I actually were married under in Nairobi, Kenya back in 1990. It's kind of nice to have it in the garden here. So I was given that by Bruce Hubbard many years ago as a potted plant, and it's done pretty well here in the ground. It's going to want to be a huge tree though, much bigger than it is now. The biggest ones you can find are probably at the safari park. They've got some really huge old ones there that, you know, they have trunks like this on them, and their canopies, you know, spread, you know, far and wide. Here's to give you an idea how big these guys can get. This is your Allodendron ramosissimum like we have out in front of the house. You know, when I took out all the eucalyptus here, I had lots of empty space. So is it provided for the plants that I was putting in the ground to go, whoopee, we've got a lot of room. It's a little harder for lure plants now to get established. If I put something else in the ground almost anywhere, you can tell that the residents, the current residents, don't really care to have more company. This is Ficus palmeri, the endemic from Baja, that likes to strangle rocks. Little fig here. That's all probably viable. One of the things I do is I provide the seed to other growers that do it commercially. I don't sell plants. I like trading plants with people and I'm providing seed for those that want to grow from seed and that I have that maybe isn't that common. You're welcome to have some if you...
I'm hopeless with seeds. Look at your bromeliads or Beaucarnea.
I think Beaucarnea is the name now. This is Beaucarnea stricta.
Oh. What a wonderful caudex.
They do really well here. That one, I think, is maybe a species from Honduras, and I lost a tag on it. It's slightly different. Yeah, some of these guys, as tall as they are, they haven't flowered and branched yet. Some people look at that and say, well, that looks like some ugly, bloated thing. And I don't see ugly, I see beautiful.
Sort of like a melting look.
Yes.
Oddly appealing.
I love them. I think they're great.
The challenge is not to let it rot, I guess. I mean, have you had any issues with it?
Well, they are winter dormant, but Jute seems to be able to handle the fact that it's going to get some rain in the wintertime and doesn't succumb to it. There's other ones, other Cyphostemmas that are a lot more touchy about that, but Jute seems to be pretty resilient.
Love it when it starts to leaf out.
Yeah. It also is very pretty later in the year when it gets these red berries on it, drupes family.
Highly poisonous.
Now, this isn't a grape family. Of all the families you would associate this plant being in, you would never think grapevines.
Here's another Uncarina.
Same one you saw in a pot earlier, cutting off of this one. They're pretty flowers. Weird, nasty seed pods, though.
That's the downside.
It's not that bad. I mean, basically, you can pick them up carefully. It's amazing how they'll go inside you with little effort.
Oh, the little hook.
Very sharp.
I have a picture of one hanging from Petra Christ's fingertip.
More of my potted plants are here. Some of these plants I've had for a long time. This is interesting, Deborah. A seed grown, the white flowered silk floss tree. It's just starting to leaf out right now in a little pot all its life. There's one behind you. That one was its twin.
What?
That plant and the one in the pot here were identical when I first got them. That one got planted in the ground 20 years ago. Look at the size of that one.
Compared to this.
Compared to this one. And they were identical. One of my favorites. Of course, I kind of love the one I'm with, I guess. So. The temptation to buy a collected plant is the fact that it has this wonderful age look to it. If you can live long enough and you start your collection early enough, you can grow a plant like this or like this here. Because I bought this from Dave Grigsby's in 1990.
Oh.
I keep them on swivel bases here so I can turn them. People use these in bonsai for the same purpose of making sure that you have the ability to move them so they don't get too one-sided. They adapt really well. They have a big plant in a tiny pot.
Boy, look at
and
this.
They can handle that.
That's got a face and everything.
This is the one that I had in the winter show in San Diego and got best succulent. Dropped most of its leaves right now. It's just starting to leaf out again.
It was phenomenal when it was leafed out.
But yeah, you got to love these. Operculicarya. Grow them in the ground. You get that big trunk to them, heavily prune them. And they lift them and put them in a bonsai or a bonsai training pot, and then start the work on the canopy in terms of the way you want the branching to be. The best bursaras for a bonsai-like effect is Bursera phagoroides, which is what this one is. In fact, I've had this one for a very long time. It was in the ground. Again, you know, grow it in the ground, it gets bigger, then you can put it in a pot and it gets smaller. But I've had it since before Jeff Moore had Solana Succulents. There was a grower of succulents there in Solana Beach, and I got this from him called Ferguson's.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah, it's long gone, and that was in the 1980s. So I had this plant in Indianapolis, got it in California as a little seedling in a 4-inch pot, and grew it in the ground for a while. Now it's in this pot, and so it's too big for me to pick up. I'd have to get Peter Workoliak to lift it for me. These are easy to grow from seed, actually. These are, in fact, I'll have these volunteer in the garden periodically when I don't collect the seed myself. Kind of pretty, the way it's kind of like...
Oh, I like that.
But this grew in the ground for a while, and I heavily pruned it, and then let it grow back. Get this effective big plant in a small pot, which looks like a bonsai.
Great idea.
Something that I'm pretty sure of success with.
Anybody can do.
Exactly. At night, this is an electrified wire.
For raccoons.
For raccoons, and the raccoons respect that, thankfully.
Find more information and a plant gallery on the corresponding page of my website. There's a lot more to see in Julian's garden, so if you'd like a sequel, let me know in the comments. I hope you found this video entertaining and informative. Please subscribe to my channel, enjoy my past videos, and visit my ad-free site for extensive illustrated info on every aspect of succulents. I'm Debra Lee Baldwin. Thank you for joining me.